Commentary Booth is a show for media lovers by media lovers just like you. If you want to support the show, go to pariomagazine.com.au. Blonde 2022 fictional take on the life and career of Marilyn Monroe, which is now streaming on Netflix.
See, I didn't know this was, until the end, this was based on a novel, a fictional reimagining of Marilyn's life.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's sort of...
I went in thinking it was going to be like a very
I thought this was
true to life biography, but it's apparently
it definitely wasn't.
A fictional retake of...
it was pretty ridiculous. Wouldn't watch it with your mum.
Guess who did that?
It's not a mum watcher, this one.
I did. That was weird.
Oh, well.
I did exactly that.
Yeah, it was borderline X-rated. Let's put it that way. She was a raunchy one.
Oh, yeah.
But as an Ana de Armas fan, I was all for it. Loving every minute of it.
Yeah, like, overall, I enjoyed the movie.
It was cool. It was very arty.
Oh, super artistic. And
I don't know what they filmed it with, but was it filmed using like a film camera?
It was. No. So the plan was to film it.
There was scenes in black and white. There was, I think, half the movie was in black and white. I think up to
most
the point. I think it was up until the point of mid 1950s when colour TV actually came out. That is when they flipped over to colour. Is that right? Would I get that
pretty much?
Right? Yeah.
So yeah, like I know the original plan was to film it on 16mm film.
Yeah.
But apparently Netflix have a mandate where everything has to be filmed on digital, so it's easier to put it on their service. So it was eventually filmed on digital cameras, but obviously in post they've put on film grain and effects to make it look like it was on film.
Yeah, that must have been what got me.
And it has all the aspect ratios of the time. Like it goes from the box
very well made.
to then goes out wide when it is like offset or off camera.
I just think this is... no one's been watching it. I feel it hasn't been very popular. I was very keen for it to come out for like 6 months after I seen the trailer for various reasons. Then I don't know, as the Dharma hype just completely destroyed everything else on Netflix.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, yeah, I enjoyed this one. Like, I wouldn't say it was amazing, and I wouldn't say it's something I'm probably going to ever watch again. Like,
you wouldn't watch it again, but
I was kind of just like,
I was immersed in it. Like, I didn't even bother taking any notes for this. I was just loving it. I was really enjoying it. It definitely wasn't a phone scroller, but it could easily be a phone scroller. If you got your phone out and sort of lost interest in it, you're gone. Like, because it was a bit slow, so to speak, and you did sort of have to pay a bit of attention. But
yeah,
I think,
and there are a few moments that I thought I didn't like. Like, I didn't really.
I really enjoyed
the whole like abortion, speaking to the baby is a bit weird, but like we said, it's a super artistic rendition of her story. It's not here's a straight run-of-the-mill biopic of the major events in her life.
Like, I have a pretty sound, I guess, like maybe above average knowledge of Marilyn Monroe's life, I guess. But I found myself Googling a lot throughout the film when I needed to double check things.
Especially with some of the characters, because they don't...
I was like, did that actually happen? And I was like, I'm sure that didn't happen. But yeah, then at the end, I've realised it was based on a fictional reimagining. So I was like,
yeah, but like...
Because the whole time I was curious...
The book is also based on fact. Like, they've pinpointed some key moments to highlight.
Her life was ridiculous, and a lot of the things in this film, like, happened.
Yeah.
I have no doubt she gave JFK wristies while he was on the phone. Yeah, that's a whole other scene. That's Oscar-worthy right there.
That's a full-on scene.
That was hectic. I was like, they are stepping on coals here with that one. That was...
What did you think of, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, like, Ana de Armas was amazing. I thought she suited this role like perfectly. Like just
Everyone's
looking
like,
at her,
"Oh,
you're
they-
like, yeah, she's Marilyn.
yeah."
Crazy.
But they sort of. I've seen people whinging like why they cast her and like, well, wouldn't you cast like a blonde girl? What? Norma Jean wasn't blonde. She was notoriously a brunette that wanted to be this blonde Hollywood showgirl. Yeah. So I thought Anna was the perfect casting.
Yeah, I saw people complaining about her accent, but for me, it was fine. I thought she was great.
There's worse. Yeah, she was great. There's worse out there. She's a Spanish girl anyway. What can you expect?
What did you think of like the way they presented some of the male characters? Like they don't ever say their real life names. Like her husband is just known as the playwright. Oh yeah, like those two. There are two people that they do give their proper names to.
I don't know. Is that just being pretty woke about stuff? I guess. I don't know. Yeah, like they've never mentioned Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, they just call him the ex-athlete, or she calls him daddy over and over again, which is
it's a vibe, but it can easily make someone very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, like we get the playwright who's Arthur Miller, played by Adrian Brody. Bobby Carnival plays the ex-athlete who's Joe DiMaggio.
So when they first introduced Joe DiMaggio, they were out for dinner, because it didn't really look like him a whole lot, and it was an interesting casting there. It got me guessing. I was like, oh, who's this meant to be? Is this meant to be like a head of like a studio or something? And they sort of kept you guessing, or let you imagine who it is. And that's the same.
There was a fair few moments where I had to Google, like, who is this person supposed to be?
I think after Miller, they got pretty right. But I was just about to say, I think I've definitely mentioned it on the show numerous times before. Adrian Brody cannot play a bad role. He cannot.
Yeah. Underrated.
It's impossible. Underrated. Oh, underappreciated. I love it, and just love how he pops up and everything. Like he was probably The Pianist was his big solo performance, but what he's been doing recent years, like support roles, like it was Luca Changretta in Peaky Blinders. He's been in he's always in Wes Anderson films, doing his thing in the background. He's just brilliant over and over again. Yeah, he played a perfect Arthur Miller.
Casper Phillipson as JFK, I thought was pretty good too. Like he nailed the accent.
The accent looked like him a bit too. I think they
that scene in particular is just like, oof.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, you don't want to be watching with your mum. I thought this is full on. I'm like, surely, like, isn't it doing stuff like that? Like, sort of just like an unspoken agreement to not do, like, to not disrespect
someone that's dead,
especially someone like JFK. But like,
that's a former president who was assassinated.
Like he is an American. Like not even past presidents. Yeah, like doing stuff like that on screen for like just American icons is, oh God, I thought it was just like an unspoken thing, like you just don't do. Like there'd be knocks at your door.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, what's
I
going
guess
on
that's
here? Like,
kind of why they
disappear for stuff like this. But it was pretty like I
feel like that's kind of why they just call Arthur Miller the playwright, DiMaggio the ex-athlete, and JFK they just call the president. Like they don't actually say their names, but if you know who they're referencing, it's pretty obvious.
I think as well, like because these are all the conspiracies, like the JFK stuff with the Kennedy brothers and Marilyn. Like everyone just, no one knows what went on. Everyone thinks there was an affair there, but they were only photographed together once, and that was like at a party
in public.
And it was like everyone just like guesses or what happened. So the writers have straight up like, here we go, this is what happened. This is what we're saying happened.
There's a ton of, like we said, based on a fictional book, so there is a ton of like creative liberties that they're able to take with the movie.
Very creative. Another one I thought was very respectful and sort of made up for everything else they did was the ending. I was curious to see how they ended it and how they played out her dying.
Yeah,
because that's probably the biggest conspiracy surrounding Marilyn. Because like everyone thinks the FBI like staged her death and made it look like a suicide and perfectly set out the pills in her bed and everything and like killed her just for like to hush her about the affairs with the Kennedy brothers. But yeah, the way they played out was very respectful, and they didn't take that path at all, did they? They completely flipped it.
We didn't get
almost,
like an overhead shot of her like dead on the bed. Like we just slowly leave the room and
just a question if she was even dead. I was like, oh, was she just sleeping?
Yeah.
Do you know what that reminded me of? That ending in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Everyone was wondering how that was going to end, but that was like the respectful sort of the real life ending that everyone sort of wanted, and they wished it had happened. It was sort of a script flipper, and I think that sort of is what happened in this as well. They're like, well, the real life situation was a bit tragic, so let's just make it a bit more wholesome and recreate history, I guess, rewrite history.
Yeah, I liked it. What did you think of like the whole abortion, miscarriage elements of it, and like her talking to her baby in her womb and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's all very confronting. But again, like it's something they obviously wanted to bring awareness to and pay attention to.
Yeah,
I think there was a lot of that throughout this thing. They used their platform to like raise awareness to a lot of current issues and things like that.
I think had they not done the like talking baby in the womb part, I think it would have hit better for me. But like I didn't hate it, but yeah, I think if they just cut out the baby bit, it would have been heaps better and way more impactful if it was like.
But I think that
basically just suggesting that the studio forced her to get an abortion type thing. I think that would have been like, whoa, insane.
But
like super believable in that time.
That's how they all got to where they were back in those days, with doing what the studio had wanted them to do, pretty much. So I have no doubts all that is pretty accurate, and to be bold to assume otherwise.
Yeah, apparently there's no like evidence that she ever had an abortion, and like her gynecologist stated that she'd never had an abortion. But
those times in Hollywood are so corrupt and so behind the scenes. Like, what do you believe?
Yeah. Again, like it's another one where I think if you want to, like if you're interested in Marilyn Monroe at all, it's worth watching. But yeah, if you don't have like a huge interest in her, I don't think it's a movie that is going to suck you in
for sure.
too much. Like you could easily just be like, nah, 10 minutes in, I'm not liking this.
It's like a lot of like World War II films, or even like movies about the Kennedys. Like most are very entertaining if like that's a topic you're interested in. But there's other people who are not really interested. Like,
yeah, it's not one where you're just going to scroll through on Netflix and like, oh, I'll just chuck this on and be instantly hooked and going to power through, because it's what, nearly 2.5 hours long?
Yeah, it went a while. Like I said, it was pretty arty. It was a bit of a slow burn, but at the same time, I couldn't take my eyes off it.
Yep.
But I think this was sort of like the recent Elvis movie as well. Like it was a similar sort of vibe in the fact that like if you love Elvis, you're gonna love this. But at the same time, the purists are going to pick it apart. Like, that didn't happen, but just enjoy it for what it is, I think.
I liked Elvis way more than I liked this.
Yeah, well, they were similar, but they were vastly different.
Yeah.
But, wow, a Baz Luhrmann film about Marilyn Monroe wouldn't be the worst thing ever. Can you imagine how great that would be?
Pretty interesting. That'd be
to
pretty interesting.
Celebrate, because every Marilyn Monroe film is just sad and miserable and just dwells on like her, like, and everyone against her. Because like as popular as she was everyone, like, she was attacked by like the media and everyone, wasn't she? Almost like she was just Princess like Diana situation.
Like she, in today's day and age, she would be pretty tame and conservative, but in the 40s and 50s, she was outrageous.
She showed ankle, bro.
She showed a lot more than ankle. She showed a lot more than ankle.
And speaking of that, I was about to say, I really enjoyed that scene with the subway over the grate, with the air coming up, blowing the skirt up. Yep. They really dramatised that a lot and made that like a big thing. That was really cool.
Yep.
I like how they paid attention to that. And it wasn't tacky. Like, they've obviously purposely planted that scene in there. They want to make a big deal out of it because it's like probably her most iconic moment.
Yeah.
But they did a really good job of it. I reckon they paid homage to it nicely, did it justice.
Yep.
Because they could have easily tackied their way out of that one and cheesed it up a bit, but I reckon it was good.
Yeah. I think, I'd love to see a movie about her that, like, celebrates her achievements and gets away from the tragedy. Like, I get it's a tragic story in the end, but we could make this, like, a celebration of her, and then the final, like, half hour is like, it's a tragedy that we lost such a great talent so early. But this whole movie is just like, here's all the shit that happened in her life that basically broke her from a child. She was broken the entire time.
Like I mentioned,
she's constantly searching for love.
That's the same.
That's why she calls all her lovers daddy. Like,
yeah, I'd love to imagine like a Gatsby Elvis style Baz Luhrmann piece on Marilyn Monroe. That'd be sick. Yep. Just like celebrate her as the showgirl she was.
Yeah,
not this miserable broken girl.
Yeah, and then at the end, just like, and we lost her, and it's crap that we lost someone.
But she's going to outlast humanity, I reckon. Marilyn Monroe as a figure.
Oh yeah, she's going to be remembered forever. Like,
it's huge,
massive.
Well, they had Marilyn Monroe, and we have Kim Kardashian. So compare to pair, bruz.
Gross. Can we swap?
Yeah.
Alrighty, so that's everything for this week. What would be your top recommendation for the week?
Well, I've actually told a couple people now to watch Blonde, and they've enjoyed it. It was a cool piece. Like, I'm not going to tell people to go watch Halloween because it's just almost a necessity to watch for Halloween fans, but it's not something I'd be open to recommending to watch. But yeah, Blonde's sick. I was very happy with it.
All right. So for me, honestly, I would say avoid both of these just as a general recommendation for, like, unless you have a massive passion for both, just skip them. If you want to see something really innovative and cool and new, watch Smile. I watched that over the weekend and oh my God, that's fantastic.
Is it? I need to see it. I need to go to the movies to see it.
So good. So good.
Yeah, I really want to see it. Done.
Alrighty. Thank you everyone for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow Blake on Twitter at Captain Crumbs, and you can follow me on social media at Jamie Ups Media and at Pario Magazine. The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at the community support group level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support. Brian and June Hart, Blake Robinson, Karina Renee, Courtney Paulson, Darren Hatcliffe, Jackson Carr, and Tracy Apps.